All right, guys, today is Friday, July 28th, 2023. So I'm getting ready to get my day started. I'm late getting out here. It's about 9:30. I ended up having to take my dog back to the vet again this morning. She has not been wanting to eat, so she hasn't improved since I took her a couple of days ago to the veterinary. You could tell something was wrong with her. She just wasn't acting right. She didn't have any energy. Her tail was down a little bit. So anyway, I went, took her over there, picked her back up, and they said she had a gastrointestinal upset. Gave her some meds and all kinds of stuff, and we didn't really notice much improvement from, I think the 25th is when I took her, and today's the 28th. So this morning, when I got out of bed, I went to take her outside, and she couldn't stand up on her back legs. So it was like her back legs were paralyzed. So that right there scared the crap out of me. So I ended up, kind of holding her up at the rear in the grass, and she did get to the point where she was kind of weakly walking, kind of hunched a little bit, and she did do her business and then come back to the back door, and then I had to help her back in the house, but then it just ended up taking her to the vet again. So she's there right now, so there's going to be another vet bill. But anyway, it just kind of sucks. I told him that she acted like she was in pain because her tail's down and she's moving real slow, really slow movement. So you can kind of tell she's not doing good. So what the different doctor this doctor tells me that they think it's a disc problem in her back. So they're going to keep her, kind of check her over today and try to give her some pain medicine and give her an x-ray and some other stuff. So man, I tell you, the doctor said that when they have gastrointestinal problems, they got an upset stomach, and then you give them pain pills, it makes them sick. And I told her, I said, as long as the dog's not in pain, I will clean up vomit. I don't care. I just don't want my dog hurting. You know what I mean? I'm a dog guy. That dog is my world. So whatever it takes, let's fix it. So anyway, so I'm not in too good of a mood today. And if you watched the very last video of me working on Steve's car, I was not in a good mood on that because the work's been done to his car. I can only imagine how frustrating it is for him. So I do want to talk about, me showing the stuff in the video. It's not like I'm trying to trash the shop. I'm not doing that. It's basically me showing, because Steve watches the videos. He doesn't live close enough to where he can just drive right over here, you know what I mean? So he watches the videos to see what's getting done on his car. But it basically, at the end of the day, when I put all these hours in this car, that I'm showing why it's taken so long, because of all these issues that I have to correct and diagnose and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I know it's frustrating for him, and I know you guys are probably seeing some stuff that's like horror story stuff when you take a car to a shop. It amazes me because, when I was starting to learn about car stuff, going to different guys' shops, I learned that you do a good job. If you have a paying customer, they're paying you to work on their car. You don't do crap quality work because you only have to do it one time, and that's what you get known for. And so I don't know. I like to be very thorough when I do something. So thorough is good. But I can guarantee you my 55 hardtop is not a cobbled together pile of garbage. That car is put together very well. I'm pretty happy with it. So Steve's car, some of the stuff that I found, you didn't know it was there. Like you wouldn't have known that was done that way. But I can guarantee you when his car leaves here, it will be top notch. So it'll be done like it's supposed to be done. So we did talk on the phone, Steve and I, a couple days ago. He wants to go ahead and redo the front end, so we're going to put new shocks, idler arm bearing kit on it, air bushings, ball joints, and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and rebuild the front end. I think he's kind of decided that since the car's here, let's just go ahead and get it done and get it right and be done with it. So then he can start enjoying the car, because it's been a long time since he's drove the car. Anyway, so I will pretty much fix anything I see on the car that is not done right, I will fix. So just that's the way it goes. So right now I'm going to go ahead and move the 4-door out, get his car out here in the driveway, and I'm going to go ahead and start taking apart the wing window stainless over there so I can make sure that the wing window frame is screwed to the door. And I can guarantee you, if it is screwed to the frame, I'm going to be surprised. But most likely, probably not the correct hardware. So let's see how this goes. All right, I'll move this forward piece of stainless off the wing window, and I want to make sure that wing window frame is screwed to the post on the door. Not the correct hardware. That is an 832 threaded boss in that, or threaded thing. That's a number 8 coarse thread. I don't even know what kind of screw that is. I mean, I know it's a Phillips screw, but it's not. I don't know what the head is. Truss head, maybe. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have to dig out a flashlight and see what the heck's up with that. Just as I suspected, not one piece of hardware screwing that wing window frame to that post. Golly. Alright guys, I'm just going to take all of it apart, take the wing window assembly back out. This is ridiculous. They've got the threads all screwed up from using coarse thread screws in a fine thread section of the wing window. So here's another thing right here. So the screws they used here that screw right there with that star washer that's on there, it's not as big around as the head like the ones you normally see holding the regulators on. The star washer is real big. These hold the wing window crank, or the wing window L bracket to the wing window mechanism. That's where those two go. So let's see what they got in here. So they got some, I'm surprised they're not coarse thread. So these are actually the 1/4x20 thread, but no star washers, which is probably okay. But so I'm just going to take all of this apart and I'm going to put it back together like it's supposed to be. Pretty much, if a shop takes a car apart, you should probably take pictures, take notes, and make sure you have some little Ziploc bags so you can label what goes where. Most likely this car was taken apart and crap was just thrown in a tote. So when you have 15 or 20 different styles of hardware, you go to put it together 5 years later, you don't remember when you took it apart from 5 years ago, and they're like, oh, lunchtime. Alright, I took the wing window assembly and the door window back out of the car, and I gotta tell you, they didn't bolt the frame to the post here, kind of like I thought they didn't. But after I removed all the wing window mechanism stuff, and the door glass actually came up easier, which means that wing window, they had the mechanism, you know, tightened back here, so it had the wing window back just a little bit. So now when I put it back in there and I tighten it down, that wing window will suck up here closer, and hopefully it'll be just enough to where the window goes up and down really nice. It actually goes down kind of easy, but the up, it's putting a strain on the crank. But anyway, there's supposed to be a hole drilled in the door here, which they don't have a screw here, which I'm going to put one in there. It's probably stripped out, that's why they didn't put it in there. These are common to be stripped out. It's just a coarse thread countersink, Phillips. But anyway, there's supposed to be a hole in the door for a screw to go through all the way through the frame of the wing window, to screw the wing window frame to this. So I'm going to have to drill that hole. And I wanted to look these over so I can put the correct screws in here, which I have a bunch of those to put in here because they didn't have the correct ones in it. But here's the funny part right here. Check this out. So some of the missing screws that would screw the wing window to the doorpost right here are right there. Can you see that? Right here. There's two of the screws right there. So if you couldn't find them, that's where they were. See if I can find my needle nose here to pick them out. Pretty awesome stuff, man, let me tell you. Pretty awesome stuff. Okay, well, the real irritating part is when I inventoried parts out of this car yesterday, there is a complete brand new bag unopened of all the wing window screws to reassemble all the wing window and put it in the car, like a complete wing window hardware kit. So I don't get it, man. This still needs to be pulled out a little bit more. It's close. Like I bent this out because somebody has bent this part of the door in. I'm gonna have to get in here and bend this out a little bit more. Now I have an original door out back. I have a pair. They're pretty rusty at the bottom, but I am gonna measure because my car's all together, my hardtop. I don't want to take it apart to see, but I am gonna measure because the stainless is still on them original doors in my backyard. I'm going to see what the measurement is from the flange to the stainless, and I'm going to bend this out to where it's the same. That way when I put the bottoming stops in and everything, it's going to line up, because the problem is if this door is bent in, those little bottoming stops that screw in here, they have these little tabs that hang down with rubber cushions on them, and they grab that wing window setting channel frame piece on the bottom. There's a thing that sticks out, and that's what hits that. So if this is bent, you know, it might not come in contact with that correctly. Like if I over bent it, those might not hit it right. So I'm going to need an accurate measurement. So I should have done that yesterday, but I am going to do that today. All right, I'm going to clean up these spots in this wing window. These are 832. These are fine thread. So I have an 832 tap. This is a short one. I'm going here and try to repair these from them using a number 8 screw. Usually a number 8 screw will work. It just, you know, it can kind of mess up the threads a little bit. So I'm going to try to straighten these back out. Alright, I took a piece of cardboard back there and my Sharpie, and I basically stuck it up there and then drew a line where this part of the door is supposed to be relative to that, and that's off pretty good. As you can see, that line I drew on there should be right there. So it's pretty good right here. Good right there. It's in here, in there. Ooh, it's close right there. This is the area I bent out yesterday. I didn't bend this. So I got to bend some more in on this, or out, I guess, to get this to match my little template there. And I stuck them pliers back down in there, and they're not tight, they're kind of loose, but having this much surface area, it helps bend that over instead of just using just a pair of channel locks or something that's real small. So it kind of helps pull out a bigger area. But anyway, I bend it out, and when you do that, it tends to make this flange bend up. So right now I'm going to go back with a block of wood and a dead blow and try to knock this back down, and then check it with my guide again to see if it moved in too far. So may have to overbend it and do it a couple of times. It doesn't take much. That sheet metal moves right here. This has to be, I would say, pretty dang close, because you have bottoming stops that go in here, here and here, and then you got a roller that goes here, which the roller is adjustable, so it'll take some slack. And these are adjustable as well, but I just want to make sure it's where the factory had it. You know what I mean? Anyway, this should help, you know, with alignment, and then I don't have to worry about the window being, you know, dragging into it or something. Let's see if I can get the... So there's my line on the deal there. So if I put it right up to the trim and I follow it along, I've got it dead on that line I drew. So that is pretty good. So I mean, if it ain't close, I'd be surprised. Now when you're messing with these hard tops, they have window bottoming stops, 2 of those, and then they have 2 rollers. They have an inner roller and an outer roller. So right here, a roller goes here, and then up in the door up in here, it takes another roller that you can't really see back in there. But there's 2 screws right there, and another roller goes there. That roller needs to be put on there before the glass goes in. So anyway, I don't have any of those parts here. I'm going to have Steve order them, but it's very easy to pull the door glass out of these hard tops, so I can do it in just a few minutes. So I want to go ahead and try to get, you know, move forward and get everything where it's working right, and then when all this stuff comes in, I will basically just pull the screws out of the wing window top piece, pull the little rubber stopper, and then just, you know, undo the 4 little screws there and pull the window back out, and then put the roller in. So it'll be pretty easy. Now that door over there is reproduction, so I'm hoping all that stuff is accurate. But when this wing window frame goes back in the door, there's a screw that goes through here, and it's a number 8 Phillips screw, and it's pretty long, and it should have a star washer on it. So this screw was actually in the new kit for all the wing window stuff. It did not have the star washer. I had that over there. I've got a tray full of these. So this hole was an 1/8 inch hole, which would be for this, but I like to drill these out. Sometimes I have to, sometimes I don't. So I used a little step bit and I opened it up just a little bit so the screw freely goes through there, because this has to go through that and then screw into this. So there's not I don't see a hole here, and it could be the placement of the stainless is not in the correct location. I mean, that hole there is lining up, which I've got to put a countersink in there. But anyway, I'm basically going to, once I get the wing window sucked up there where it needs to go with the forward screws here, I'm going to drill a new hole and attach that frame to that. And that'll be an 1/8 inch hole that I'm going to drill there. But I want it to go through this and not have to, you know, thread through this and then thread through the door, because it would be very difficult on the screw to try to screw that and then screw into the door as well that far away. So this is the wing window mechanism. I pulled out of it and the little cap's missing off the bottom of it, which is pretty common. If you drag Tri-5s in, guys, and you're disassembling them for paint, if the whole bottom of the door is not completely rusted away, when you pull this out, if you don't see a little round cap on the bottom of that, look in the bottom of the door, because it can be in there. They just kind of snap in there, and sometimes you have to take a punch and a hammer and peen them in there. But with them out, it's pretty easy to pack them full of grease. But this one is seized up. I can't get it to turn by hand. Usually these will turn just a little bit just with your fingers, and this one's seized up. So I'm going to clean this up and get rid of all that old crap, what's left of the grease in there. It's probably going to be hard as a rock. Actually, that looks like part of a dirt dauber nest right there. The dirt from it anyway. It's brown and not white like old grease, white grease. Yeah, there's some up there on that deal, so maybe it is. But anyway, I'm going to clean these up and then grease them and get it broke free and get it working. So basically when I'm done, everything should work very smooth as if the car was brand new right off the assembly line. That's the goal anyway. All right, I'm just kind of going over everything. They actually had correct screws in here. Very surprising. I'm glad they did. There's supposed to be a little tab that comes off of this and just kind of goes over that, kind of like a guide type of thing. There's a cut mark right there, just a nice cut. So they cut it off for whatever reason. It's not gonna hurt anything. Didn't need to be. But what I'm looking at is this stuff here is awful tweaked out, like this is all caved in. So when I put all this together and I'm trying to align that, when I try to tighten it up, it's going to want to go to the low spot in that bend. So I'm going to have to get in here with a hammer and dolly and straighten all this out. Also, the access panels where they go on the door, there's a flap that lays in here first, and then they lay in, and then you screw them in. So if this is not fitting very well here, it might cause an issue with the door panel, you know, not fitting up there very good. It might have it humped out. So I am going to I'm going to pull this out just a little bit with probably some flat jaw pliers, try to pull it all out, and then I'll stick my dolly back there and hammer it straight. It won't take very long. It just needs to be done. And then this has a pretty bad cave in right here. Again, going to cause an issue with that piece going in there. So I'm going to bend this out and then hammer and dolly it back flat. This is restoration stuff. When you're restoring a car, this is stuff you do in metal before the door gets painted. Well, should be done before door gets painted, I should say. I used my tent knife here, and I went around where I showed that in the video yesterday, where that rubber seal was all bulged out. It's a setting channel. It's all bulged out. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's not super soft anymore. And I was afraid to try to take the wing window out and try to reset that. For one, there's no way. It's been set that way for so long, it'd never form right. And I don't have any glass setting channel to reset it. So all I did was I went around with my knife and cut off the excess there. Then I went through with some 4/0 steel wool and I cleaned up the chrome frame because it had some corrosion started on it. And then the rubber seal itself had some kind of yellowy white residue on it. I don't know what that was. So I cleaned it off with acetone on a rag, and then I just run some Mother's Mag and aluminum polish along the stainless strips on each side. I would love to take this all apart and sand and polish all these pieces, but it'd have hours in it, and right now it's presentable. It's damn sure better than it was. But anyway, I cleaned all the overspray off the glass. I'm assuming when they painted it, they got overspray in the shop, maybe on the glass. I don't know. But anyway, I 4/0 steel wooled the glass too and cleaned everything up. But it looks really, really nice now. So that will be 10 times better in the car this time. And hopefully the windows and wing windows and all the stuff will work like it's supposed to. All right, guys. So if you're doing a hardtop wing window assembly, you attach the wing window frame right here with 3 of these 832 countersinks. Now these are specific. This is not anything you're going to get at a hardware store. That is a number 6 countersink head on a number 8 screw. So these are specific. You can buy every bit of the stuff, reproduction. They sell all this stuff for these cars. Anyway, it's just a Phillips countersink, flat top. So anyway, it takes 3 up here at the window on the post here. So there's one at the top, one at the first square cutout right here, square notch, and then one at the very bottom. Now I got to tell you, if your wing windows are not original to your door, or if you have reproduction doors, you'll probably have to notch or re-drill new holes. This wing window did not line up very well, and that could be why that guy put coarse thread regular screws in there instead of these. He couldn't get them to start because it was off. So what I used was a little rotary bit here. This is actually a Dremel part, and I just put it in the drill. It's a little tiny burr bit, and I went in there and slotted that, all 3 of them, up and down slots, and that way I got them all to go in there. So when I started screwing that in there, that wing window really went up there. So I am hoping that now with the wing window as far forward as it'll go, I'm hoping the window is not in a bind. And again, if that window is in a bind still yet, when I'm trying to roll it up, if it's really stiff to go up, the only thing at this point it can be is that reproduction glass is cut too long, or it's not set into that frame. Like what I'm thinking is the glass is not seated in the setting channel all the way up against the back end of the chrome frame around it. So, you know, if that glass is a little bit this way from the frame, it's going to cause it to bind. But, you know, you never know with reproduction parts, so I am hoping at this point that this will go in and work pretty good, because if this is very hard to roll the window up, it's going to end up stripping out the window crank, because the cranks themselves are pot metal, and it could actually start messing up your gear teeth in your regulator. So this stuff has to work smooth, you know what I mean? So right now I'm going to go ahead and try to put the door glass in, and again, I don't have the rollers here to put in there, so I'm just gonna have to pull the glass back out to put the roller back in anyway. But the other thing about it is I pulled the door lock out yesterday, because they have the left on the right and the right on the left, and I am going to have Steve get a new complete lock set for the car. That way the glove box lock matches the trunk and the doors. So that's just going to be the best option to go with here. So he's went in here, the guy who did this, when he went to put the lock in, it looks like he used I'm assuming a burr bit, and went in here and burred on that. That lock fit come right out of there. Like they usually fit a little bit snug. There was also no seal on here. They have a rubber gasket that goes on here, so he didn't have those on there. They're on the door handle though. See a little black gasket there, which comes in the kit. But anyway, this is bare metal and it's already got surface rust on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and try to clean this up a little bit, and then I'm going to take and brush on just some little etching primer that I have. I'm going to spray it in it's an aerosol. I'm going to spray it in a cap, and I'm going to brush it on there, and that way this is not going to rust. And what will happen is, over time, you know, Steve washing his car, getting, you know, driving it in the rain or whatever, it will eventually start getting rusty residue coming out from the bottom of the lock from that bare metal. So I'm going to go ahead and touch that up for him. You know, guys, it's not that I'm being critical. It's when you're building a car, it needs to be put together well, so it's not a creaky, you know, squeaky mess to drive, but also, you know, for longevity. Everything has to be, you got to kind of think of what it's going to do on the back end of it, you know what I mean? Like long-term stuff. So, and again, I'm not trying to be an expert or nothing. It's just, I guess I just take a lot of pride in my work, but I also think every little thing I do, I try to think of, like, if I put something together, how well is it going to be, or how easy is it going to be to take it apart? And if I don't do this, what could happen? So when you think that way, you can do preventative stuff like that. But anyway, I'm over explaining myself again. Okay, so I got the wing window mechanism cleaned up a little bit. And what I'm gonna do, these are supposed to have a cap on the bottom of them, and of course it's, you know, it's gone. It's common that these fall off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use, these are just some steel washers. I've got a bunch of miscellaneous washers, and luckily I have two that match because the other side's missing as well. But this will just about go in there. So I'm gonna pop this in here, and then I'm gonna take a spring punch and pop this, kind of pin it in there, set it so it kind of stays. And then I've got these little bitty plugs. Luckily I've got a whole bunch of miscellaneous, rubber plugs and grommets, and this fits in that as a plug. What I'm gonna do, the reason I'm gonna do this, the original I'm pretty sure has a hole in the center, and it's, so water and stuff can run out. But what I kind of want to do, I probably really don't even need to put the plug in there, honestly, because it does need to be able to drain water if it gets wet. But I'm pretty sure it will drain around the edge anyway. But when you put grease in here, like white grease, when it gets really, really hot outside, like here in Oklahoma, it gets, like right now it's 100 and something degrees. That white grease tends to liquefy. So the grease would actually come out of here. Plus it's going to get all kinds of dust and dirt and, crap up in there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just do it this way. It's, it's kind of a redneck way of doing it, but, I don't really consider it hacking. I think it's hacking with style, we'll say. But to me, that's going to be a pretty good fix for not having the, the accurate parts here. So I got that washer in there, and I just used my little ball peen, and it went in there pretty good. I didn't have to beat it in there, but I had to tap it in. And it's pretty well tension set in there, but this is pot metal, so it's soft. So now I'm taking my spring punch that I use to, for like before you drill a hole, and I'm just putting it up here, right on the edge of that pot metal, and giving it a little peen, a few little, golly, what? A few little areas apart there. I missed that one. There we go. All right, so that is, it's pretty well peened on there, so it's not going anywhere. So now I greased that before I put that on there. I put white grease down in there. I packed it full of white grease. So anyway, now a lot of the grease will stay in there and it won't get as much dust and dirt in it. And then I'll just pop a little cap on there like that. So pretty simple deal there. Works for me. That's not really hacking, is it? Alright, so put all the correct hardware in here. Have everything adjusted. I straightened out the metal here where all this stuff went. And anyway, I've got the latch pulled over there. Look how nice that is, man. That thing is very, very smooth. So, one thing done, other than the adjustment down there. I'm actually going to dig in my shed. I've got a couple of totes of just a bunch of stuff on the bottom of it. It's like bolts and nuts and small crap. And I'm going to look and see if I have that adjuster nut for the bottom of that. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the door glass in and see how it does. Alright, I got the window back in, and it's still difficult to roll up. It rolls down kind of nice. I mean, kind of. But going up, you really got to bear down on it. So the glass is just, it's way too long. So it's putting too much tension in between the tracks. Just another aftermarket pile of crap here. So I'm afraid to try to, move this chrome frame onto the glass more, because it might break the window. So I'll be on the line for having to replace a window. So what I'm going to try to do is take the window back out. I'm going to remove this rear track, and I'm going to see if I can modify the track here. When I take it out, it has a flat area back there. I'm going to see about maybe trimming it down and then like sectioning it, make it thinner, and try to bolt it back in there. It just needs a little bit, but right now it's just, there's too much tension at the front of the window and the back of the window, and that wing window is as far forward as it's going, so this is just a mess. Alright, this is the rear track, and somebody's put on a clip here, and so that adds thickness to that. This is supposed to be against the little piece in the door, flat, so it's sticking up off of it, the thickness of that. But not only that, if you can see that little bitty thing sticking up there, so that is how far, what is that, 1/8 of an inch? And 1/8 of an inch would probably make the window roll up a little easier. So I'm going to take the clip off, and I'm going to weld a nut in there. It's supposed to be threaded, but most likely it's stripped out, and I think this is metric and they had a standard screw in it, because I like to never get that screw out of there. So they had that on the top. It's a fine thread. Of course on the bottom they got fine thread on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the clip, and I'm going to tack weld a nut in there, and that should give me about 1/8 of an inch of clearance, I'm thinking. And in this, instance, I think 1/8 inch would kind of help. This liner still feels nice and fuzzy, so I don't think that needs relined. But so anyway, here we go again, more rework. All right, so this is the screw that they had put into the window track here, and you can see by the threads, I guess it got cross-threaded, or this is metric, because this is for sure supposed to be standard. So I tapped this back out to 1024, and this one here, I welded a nut on there. So I got 3 tack welds on a nut, and then I went over it with some spray paint, so it doesn't rust. But they had this clip on there with this screw, and who knows, maybe the clip was metric and this is standard. I don't know, but it's all, the threads are jacked anyway. So I dug through my boxes, and I've got some stainless steel, these are large oval headed Phillips stainless steel, so I buffed them, and I've got 4 of them. I got 2 long ones, 2 short ones, so I'm going to use them on the tracks on both sides so they match. But these will look nicer in there than that. This is just a zinc plated, small head Phillips. But I'm going to dig out a washer and a rubber washer to put on that, and that's actually bent in, so I may need to try to hammer that out. Hopefully I don't tear the paint up too bad. It's already tore up, but I don't want to make it any worse. Well, this is what I come up with. So the factory has an oval chrome washer, and it has a little tab on it, but it's not really that important. But they also have a rubber gasket behind it. So what I've got here is a 1024 large dome Phillips stainless screw, and the original ones also have a star washer on them. So this is a stainless number 10 star, and then I've got just a round rubber washer. So this was actually bigger. I trimmed it down a little bit, but that is supposed to basically go on there. Now the paint's kind of messed up around this, so the idea is that that will cover some of that bad area and still look pretty good. And it's, the factory had a rubber gasket, so it's basically kind of what I'm doing. It's just, it's a round washer instead of an oval washer. It's probably going to be just fine, you know what I mean? And then that's one less thing you'll have to buy, because I just had all this crap here. So anyway, this stuff is what I'm going to use to bolt it all back together. Man. Works pretty good now.